Well, it was a pretty impressive introduction, I gotta say. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is right or not. What? Like that? Hello, can you hear me? I'd like to invite you to join with me in thought for our friends and brothers and sisters in El Paso. This is an old song that some of you may remember. When you walk through a storm, keep your chin up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain. Though your dreams be tossed and blown, walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. I had to rewrite this whole talk, and I am grateful for the years of experience that I've had in New Thought, and, for things like these two characters. They're wonderful. And the reason is because they remind us to keep our light shining. That song just then, yeah, that's what it's about, really. The response of people in El Paso that flocked to help in the blood, what do you call them? Donation. Yeah, the blood donation places. And just to help, they brought water, they brought food, they brought, instantly. So I have faith and hope that since we're all in this together, we'll continue to evolve and grow into the fully expressed, amazingly powerful, beautiful beings that we were created to be. And we don't have to do heroic things all the time to affect the world. With our power to choose, we can give a voice to our deepest wishes for the planet and all that's on it. Go as big as you like. Say, I send my love to the planet. May I aid in the purification of the air, the restoration of our oceans, the health of all creatures in whatever way that I can. No matter what arises in your day or in your heart, remember there's always something you can choose. And I think that's the essence of the theme for this month, the mental equivalent, to remember the power we have. So what's the next step? I turned to Dr. Holmes again. He wrote that the range of our possibilities at the present does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. Even so, he's so intellectual. You gotta, it's tricky to follow him. You gotta read his sentences one or two times each to really get it. But he says, even as we bring ourselves to a greater vision, we induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate more in our experience. Okay, you got that part? Little by little, we can unfold our consciousness through the acquisition of greater and still greater mental equivalents until we're made free. The way to proceed is to start right where we are. And so here we are today. Here we are today. No matter what happens, even if it looks like something terrible, this is the best time to hold on to these truths. I'm reminded of my beloved Spanish professor who always told us, poco a poco, little by little. And that's, we see it all and we want to fix it immediately, fix the whole thing. But it doesn't seem to be working that way. But little by little, we just hold to our faith, we grow our faith, we advance more, we study more, we read more, we think more, poco a poco. Metaphysical philosophy says that all things work together for good. It's an idea that's hard to hold on to. All things work together for good. So how can that be that a young man, 21 years old, goes into a store and kills 20 people? How can that be good? But the only other choice is to give up, to surrender to the stumbling blocks and crash landings in the evolution of humanity. Those of us in this room right now would probably disagree in many ways on the whole philosophy of New Thought. We could argue about the terminology or the basic tenets or who the greatest teachers were or who Jesus really was or what God really is. But I bet there's one thing we probably would all agree on, not to give up. Raise your hand if you think we ought to give up. See? No, we don't give up. Holmes wrote that mind is potential energy stored in the brain, okay, while thought is the dynamic force which produces the activity for manifestation. I don't know why he couldn't just write in simple English, right? The mind is potential energy, okay, stored in the brain, while thought is the dynamic force which produces the activity for manifestation. Okay. He also wrote that all mind activity tends to create its physical correspondent. And I think that's probably the key idea right there. All mind activity tends to create its physical correspondent. The more I study this stuff, the more in awe I am of these amazing people that were able to figure these things out and put them down. Like Emily Cady and Charles Fillmore and Holmes and all these different people back then and really some of the thinkers go way back into ancient history. So this may be the most powerful aspect of metaphysics, the one most important thing, if you don't get anything out of it, if you don't agree with anything else. Our power to think is actually the power that creates our lives and how we live them. We have, right up here between our ears, the most powerful power in the physical dimension. Did you look at yourself in the mirror that way this morning and think, wow? If you're like me, you said, I need another cup of coffee, But really, isn't that something? So, we're characters in a never-ending story. And how we play our part is how we will experience the story. In other words, we can choose to be the hero and the heroine in our part of the story. We're all in this together, even though it looks like we're all separated by hate and fear. So what is our part? Those of us here today and others around the world that we don't even know. How can we deal with the events in the world outside ourselves? What can we do with this power of positive thinking? I believe we have it for a reason, to learn to create our own worlds, and we're involved in the seemingly endless process of evolution. I've used this analogy before, but if dinosaurs can learn to fly, then we can learn to create a world that works for everyone. I mean, you look at a dinosaur, he's kind of dumb looking. And it took him a long, long, long time to figure out how to fly, right? So we're involved in a process of the evolution of consciousness, if you will. And here's something that's really neat. The ripple effect is the most powerful strategy, or the most powerful analogy I can think of. And we don't really think about it this way, but the ripple effect is defined as a spreading, pervasive effect or influence on whatever it touches. A ripple effect is a situation in which, like ripples expanding across the water when an object is dropped into it, an effect from an initial state can be followed outwards incrementally. And interestingly enough, ripples can also be seen returning as they touch the opposite shore. Hence the origin of the adage, what goes around comes around. But, think about it. You take a little pebble and you go, it bounces across and it ripples, ripples, ripples. If that was a thought, see? I mean, just thinking about it in that analogy helps me understand this whole stuff about new thought and metaphysical thinking, I'm going to send you some love. Good on you. So what does all this have to do with us as individuals? We can learn to, or choose to broadcast loving kindness when we see things like we saw on TV yesterday. We can choose to acknowledge our shared human experience when we feel most alone. There's always something we can choose. Choose to look for things to feel good about. Okay, here you are. Whatever you have on you, within you right now, your beating heart, your breath, your hands, to your power to choose. With that power, dedicate this moment in time to your own health and happiness and to a new story of humanity. Next, focus your power to choose on a friend. For just a moment, offer whatever is within reach to them. Reach over and greet somebody right now. Make somebody's life today a little better. How hard is that, right? And what happens? We smile. We feel lifted. Okay, well, maybe I can keep going for a little while longer. You can extend your power to choose as far out as you like. Dedicate every step you take crossing the street to the well-being of all passers-by. Smile at them, make eye contact, mentally send a positive wish to them for their day. That's one of the reasons I love Las Cruces. Everywhere you go, you see people smile at you, help you with the door, chat with you in the grocery line. I've waited in the grocery line and had 15-minute conversations with a perfect stranger. And my question is, how hard is it? It's not so hard. And it feels right, doesn't it? I'd like to share a quote, and it's kind of long, that I came across several years ago. We Were Made for These Times by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and she's the woman who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves. If you guys haven't read it, do. You guys would probably benefit from reading it too. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world right now. Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often a righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to civilized, visionary people. You are right in your assessments. The luster and hubris some have aspired to while endorsing acts so heinous against children, elderlies, everyday people, the poor, the unguarded, the helpless, is breathtaking. Yet I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry, bewailing these difficult times. That's kind of a key phrase, isn't it? Do not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially do not lose hope. Most particularly because the fact is that we were made for these times. We're here at this time for reasons. We may not understand all the reasons, but what led you to sit here this morning, to follow the path that you followed to get here? There's got to be reasons. For years we've been learning, practicing, been in training for, and just waiting to meet on the exact plane of engagement today. How many of you have read a whole bunch of stuff about New Thought and metaphysics? Raise your hand. Yeah. So you've been kind of looking at this stuff for a long time. All right? Well, why? Because you were made for this time. In any dark time, there's a tendency to veer toward fainting over how much is wrong or unmended in the world. Do not focus on that. There is a tendency to fall into being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what cannot yet be. Do not focus there. That is spinning the wind without raising the sails. We are needed. That's all we know. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will tell us, hail us, love us, and guide us, and we will know them when they appear. Didn't you say you were a believer? Didn't you pledge to listen to a voice greater? Didn't you ask for grace? Didn't you remember that there is grace in submitting to a voice greater than your own? Did you say, in effect, here I am, use me? Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once. Thank goodness, huh? But of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach. I really like that. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist some portion of this poor suffering world, will help immensely. And she goes on to say, it is not given to us to know which acts or by whom we will cause the critical mass to tip toward an enduring good. What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing like the ripple effect. We know that it does not take everyone on earth to bring justice and peace, but only a small determined group who will not give up during the first, second, or 100th gale. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send out flares, builds signal fires, causes prophet matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others, both, are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. That's really a key sentence, I think. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do. There will always be times when you feel discouraged. She says, I too have felt despair many times in my life, but I do not keep a chair for it. I will not entertain it. It is not allowed to eat from my plate. The reason is this. In my uttermost bones, I know something, as do you. It is that there can be no despair when you remember why you came to earth, who you came, who you serve, and who sent you here. The good words we say and the good words we do are not ours. They are the words and deeds of the one who brought us here. She closes this with this statement, in that spirit, I hope you will write this on your wall. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe. There can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. This comes with much love and a prayer that you remember who you came from and why you came to this beautiful, needful earth. And I want to close my talk with a quote that some of you may have already heard that I've shared before. A survivor of a Nazi concentration camp wrote this. If you are a disciple of the Master, it is up to you to illumine the earth. You do not have to groan over everything the world lacks. You are here to bring it what it needs. There where reign hatred, malice, and discord, you will put love, pardon, and peace. For lying, you will bring truth. For despair, hope. For doubt, faith. There where is sadness, you will give joy. If you are in smallest degree the servant of God, all these virtues of light you will carry with you. Do not be frightened by a mission so vast. It is not really you who are charged with the fulfillment of it. You are only the torchbearer. The fire, even if it burns within you, even if it burns you, is never lit by you. It uses you as it uses the oil of the lamp. You hold it, feed it, carry it around, but it is the fire that works, that gives light to the world and to yourself at the same time. Don't be the clogged lantern that chokes and smothers the light, the lamp timid or ashamed, hidden under a bushel basket. Flame up and shine before men. Lift high the fire of God. If in the end the world comes tumbling down, this is my favorite quote of all metaphysical thought. If in the end the world comes tumbling down, I hope that I shall hear across the tumult of the falling stars some Roland of that unimagined age, blowing his deathless horn, blowing his defiance of all that is less than it might have been, blowing his faith that the good will triumph yet. And to close, I'd like to ask you to share once again the thoughts for our friends and brothers and sisters in El Paso. And remind yourself of this too. When you walk through a storm, keep your chin up high. Don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind. Walk on through the rain. Though your dreams be tossed and blown, walk on. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.